Hi, thanks for tuning in. I'm Sarah Bilodeau, a drama therapist at Nature's Playhouse. And today I'd like to speak with you about how we can help our child when they have big behaviors and big feelings. We're going to look at 5 common ways that parents tend to show up in those situations to understand ourselves and how these patterns might impact the child. We'll also look at how we might have developed those patterns and explore possibilities of what can serve us and the child. So when our child is having big feelings and big behaviors, there are 4 common patterns that tend to have a less than desirable impact on children. These are to ignore, to minimize, to be confrontational, or inconsistent. There's a 5th way, to offer empathy, and that leads to better outcomes in children. And now we're going to get into all of this right now. So the first pattern, to ignore. Here, when the child is having big feelings and big behaviors, the parent ignores the child or their feelings. They are not paying attention to what's happening for the child, and they might only see the child's behavior. They might be cut off from their own emotions, and so they have a hard time to connect with some or all of their child's emotions. They might say things like, "Here we go, another tantrum. They're making such a fuss." They might roll their eyes. They might see meltdowns as annoyance. They might also withdraw. In the second pattern, to minimize, the caregiver sees that there's a feeling there during the outburst, but they deem that it has little importance. They want the child to get over it quickly and on their own. So they might say things like, "You're being so dramatic. This is nothing to cry about. Pull yourself together." Things like that. In the 2 first stanzas, to ignore or to minimize, it can leave the child feeling misunderstood. The child might feel alone with their experience, ashamed, and this can increase their stress and escalate the behavior in the moment. They might also disconnect from their emotions as they learn that it doesn't help to pay attention to them or to express them. They might withdraw from the carer and start to think, "Well, I can't expect others to help or to care, so I better do things on my own." The child's brain can learn to shut down inner signals of emotion from reaching their awareness. That means there are still emotions there, it's just that they're not aware of them. This can make it difficult for them to connect with their own or others' emotions. And over time, they might start to feel that they can't show parts of their true inner experiences as they have to be a certain way to be accepted. This might lead them to people please, to try to be perfect. They might dismiss their needs. In the third pattern, when the child is having big feelings and big behaviors, the caregiver is confrontational. So here, the caregiver tends to be critical or punitive of the child. They might be harsh, volatile, they might lash out, they might blame the child. They might say things like, "You're being such a bad boy." They might shut down the child very quickly and say or do things that might scare or hurt the child. And all of these can escalate the situation. The child might try to push back to get the carer to back off, or they might zone out and freeze to cope. And this makes it even harder to reach them. They might become hypervigilant and start to think, "Ugh, it's hard to feel safe, so I have to watch out for danger and stay in control." Over time, the child can develop a sensitized stress response where they can get easily flustered and frustrated. That means their nervous system can get ranked up very quickly, and then it's harder to regulate it because it gets intense so fast, and they have a hard time to regulate that. The child might accumulate feelings and sometimes be irritable without knowing why or suddenly explosive. They might also feel small and be hard on themselves, as we might come to treat ourselves how we were treated. And on the flip side, they might also blame and judge others, as we might also come to treat others how we were treated. We've come to the fourth pattern, and here the caregiver tends to be inconsistent when the child is having big feelings and big behaviors. So here, the caregiver is unpredictable in how they're going to respond to the child. They might at times be emotionally available, other times dismissive. They might be anxious, preoccupied. They might at times get overwhelmed by the child's outburst and give in to the child's demands to end the child's struggle. In the moment, this can further unsettle the child and bring some confusion. The child might show clinginess and start to think, I don't know if you're going to be there, so I have to keep you involved. Over time, this can lead to more power struggles as the child feels that they have to be in control or in charge to get their needs met. This can also lead to anxiety, mistrust, difficulties with boundaries, making decisions, and self-worth. In all these four patterns, to ignore, to minimize, be confrontational, or inconsistent, there's a decision being made by the parent, although it might be unconscious. And that is, what feelings should the child have? And which feelings should the child be shielded from? And all of this can escalate the child's feelings and behaviors in the moment. And over time, denied emotions can get stuck. They can take detours and come out in other symptoms and difficulties later on. There's a lot more potential consequences to these four patterns, more than what I can cover here right now. But there's a lot of research on this in attachment and trauma-informed science. So when our child is having a hard time, it's an opportunity to hear them. It's an opportunity to meet their primary needs for connection and safety, where they can feel connected to us and to someone in those really hard moments when they're having big feelings and big behaviors. It's also an opportunity to help them feel worthy of care, to know that they matter. In the moment, it can also be a time to teach them skills on how to regulate their feelings and how to handle challenges. And the next stance, the fifth way, steps into that. So the fifth pattern is to offer empathy. So when the child is having big feelings and big behaviors, the caregiver in that stance tends to be responsive. They come in with a caring tone. They acknowledge and validate the child's feelings and try to help. This helps the child to feel seen, to feel felt, heard, understood, which helps them to understand themselves. Offering empathy can calm the child and help them navigate their very tricky feelings in the moment. And over time, this teaches them social emotional skills where they can own and process and regulate their feelings. This all contributes to self-esteem, to self-confidence, to the ability to ask for help, resilience, a sense of belonging, a secure attachment, and so much more. Offering empathy can serve the moment and the long term. So there are a few notes that I want to share about empathy because sometimes it gets confused. So offering empathy does not mean that we forego our boundary as a parent or a caregiver. So for example, if our child is getting really frustrated because we're saying no to giving them more chocolate, we can offer them empathy and stick to the boundary. This might sound something like, I can see you're really disappointed, and I believe you. It's so hard when we can't get what we want right away. Yeah, but still, you can't have more chocolate as we have to prepare to go to bed right now. And if they have a meltdown, we hold the space for it and we can be there for them. Also, having empathy doesn't mean that we ignore behavior if it hurts. For example, if a child is hitting their sibling because they're really upset, we might say something like, I can see you're upset. You seem to want to play with that toy that your sister is playing with. Is that right? Yeah, it's hard. And you can be upset, but you cannot hit because hitting hurts. And then we can offer them an alternative of what they could say to their sibling or what they could do with their upset feeling. As you can see, children absorb, they react, and they adapt to how we show up. And often there are beliefs that we carry that influence our patterns and how we perceive our child and their experience. These beliefs, we often learned them in our childhood growing up, in how we were parented. But these beliefs didn't start with us, and it didn't start with our caregivers either. They were born through interactions and relationship. And our parent had their patterns that were modeled after and in reaction to how they were parented. It's a really tricky intergenerational cycle, and it trickles down until we can grab hold of it. Sometimes what we think to be true about our child's feelings and behaviors is a reflection of a belief system that we breathed in growing up. And this may be inhabiting us and guiding how we see others, feelings, the world, and ourselves. These beliefs might also be informing the attachment styles that we developed and those we might be parenting from. On top of all that, society often reinforces certain messages about feelings, and that is feelings are weak, they are irrelevant, overly scary, something to hide or avoid, irrelevant, useless, silly, less important than thoughts, and so on, often very negative, when feeling themselves are not problematic. However, what we do with them, how we perceive, process, cope, and express them does require special attention and effort. For example, let's say we grew up with a parent who would lose control every time they were angry. We might grow up thinking that anger is bad and dangerous. Yet, it's the same emotion that can serve a child when they can recognize their friend is treating them unfairly and they want to stand up for themselves. A key difference lies in how a person learns to relate to their emotions and experience their emotions. Also, if a person develops the skills to handle, channel, and communicate their feelings and their needs. As all feelings have value, they serve a purpose and help guide us in life. Feelings are like messages that give us information about what we need help with, or what might need healing. Feelings are part of the human experience and need care. And when we can welcome feelings, it makes it easier to sit with our child's feelings with empathy, and to sit with our own feelings with empathy as well. So, what if we were to untangle ourselves from the beliefs that we internalized? Take them one by one. I shouldn't cry. I can't take up space. Others can't be relied on. My child can't be angry. And we investigate them. Which would we choose to keep or release? With intention, we can update our beliefs and patterns anytime. We can free ourselves from the adaptations we may have learned to make a long time ago, and also the strategies that we may have picked up along the way that all no longer may be serving us. Without blame or shame, let's mindfully choose and practice what we wish to pass on to our children. Coming to the end of this video with you, thanks for staying on. And I want to leave you with some practical tips that you can practice with your child if they have any feeling or any behavior. So 1, notice what comes up for you and slow down to center yourself. 2, get curious of your child's feelings and behavior. And 3, step into empathy for your child and yourself. If you want further tips, there's a link below to a brief blog article I wrote that's on Nature's Playhouse website. Pardon me. And if you like this video, please subscribe to Nature's Playhouse YouTube channel and stay tuned to looking out for more videos. Thanks again, and I wish you all well.